Welcome to A Tree Talk, and today I'm going to go over why video games go beyond just being a hobby, more than just fun distractions, that they create in me a burning passion that wants to spread itself like a wildfire to others, so that they can enjoy and feel the way I feel when experiencing this media. I wouldn't be infatuated with this medium if it wasn't for my grandmother, as I like to call her, my Gammy. Gammy was, and still is, an active video game player. Not in the sense that she went and hopped onto her gaming PC and plays CSGO for 40 plus hours a week, but in the sense that she takes her little iPad and plays Tetris, word games, and the mystery point-and-click adventures to bide her time. I used to go over to her house every weekend until my teenage years, and I specifically remember coming over one weekend and seeing that she had gone to a pawn shop and bought us an orange N64. My brother and I had wanted one forever, since our father had divorced our mother. The last time we had gotten to play one was when we still lived with him in the same house. My brother and I used to sit and watch our father play Ocarina of Time for hours as he made his way through the game. Unfortunately, we never saw him make it to the end. So when it came in that weekend to see an N64 with a brand new copy of Ocarina of Time hooked up to a little trucker TV, which for those of you who don't know this particular shitty TV, it was this small little device that truckers had that allowed them to put VCR tapes so that they could watch stuff while they were on the road. This small little TV sat there with the N64 plugged in, and we had never been more excited. Over the course of the next few months, my younger brother and I made our way through the game with our grandmother hovering over us, teaching us to read the text and figure out the puzzles. To the point it was almost stressful. We would get upset when we couldn't figure something out, and she would tell us to take a break. But of course we didn't want to do that, so we continued to push forward, our Gammy guiding us ever onward. When we finally beat the game and watched it end, that alone cemented gaming into my heart. It reached the scene where Link walks up to Zelda and cuts to the big block, the N letters, fading to gray due to it just ending. We turned off the N64 and our Gammy smiled, having watched the entire time. It felt like the most major accomplishment we could ever have achieved at that time in our lives. The next weekend, she presented us with Majora's Mask, and we repeated the cycle and so on and so forth. Now, of course, we grew older, we became independent of needing our Gammy to get through video games. But whenever I'm playing anything and feel that I begin to struggle, I think of her. I think of how much she means to me and how in this difficult moment in a game, I recall her and these memories. Now, that doesn't stop the fucking game from being frustrated, because fuck, I can get frustrated. It's just this pure emotion, pure unfiltered happiness I feel when these games that stem from her, no matter how adult and gritty the games are, no matter how bleak and frustrating, disappointing, or awful, I will always have that. Now, fuckos, listen, this doesn't mean that the rest of this will be heartfelt, but it might. I guess that might be subjective. I think the one thing that carries my love for games to this current age is that connection to my family. I might not be close with all of them anymore, but those shared memories of enjoying playing video games together or alongside each other still remains regardless of whatever else has happened in our lives. Maybe. Never mind. We'll throw this bullshit out. I had a rough childhood growing up. Family split, mother a bit of a loon, and my father being in the military meant he either lived thousands of miles away or was gone somewhere else. It was usually just my brothers and me. When we used our time together to fight, play, and generally get in trouble, but our constant was always video games. I remember when our grandmother got us an Xbox 360 from Rent-A-Center, and that the reason she did was that she couldn't pay for one outright. Now, was she being financially responsible by getting her grandkids a 360 she couldn't afford? Fuck if I know. But what I do know is that it came with Cameo and Dead Rising. Dead Rising being the game we really played the fuck out of. At this point, we had a PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, Game Boy, and our cousins had just gotten themselves a PlayStation 3. We had survived the great adult video game controversy due to our Gammy, as well as her exact words when telling our parents, if those boys can't tell what's fake from reality, then there is more wrong with them than just their games. I distinctly remember this when we were getting dropped off frequently between my mother and my Gammy. It was around that time that video games cause violent kids bullshit was happening, and the few times that my mother and father actually agreed on something between us boys. The issue is that my Gammy was the one that was basically raising us, so they didn't really have much input on that part of our lives. What a wonderful time. Actually, tangent time. See, rewinding a bit, playing Metal Gear Solid 2 and being introduced to such broad topics at an early age was jarring feeling, and one that games bring out of me every time I decide to go through it. God of War allowed me to express my rage at the situation life had left me in a healthy way, without having any sort of outward anger flowing out. And games were doing things for me that at that time just felt like I was enjoying myself. They were a therapy to get over bullshit of an abusive household, and the one escape that my brothers and I used to deal with. You can call bullshit, fine. I know I would. But video games were and are a therapy, at least for me. Think of it this way. A therapist is really there to pull and poke so that the individual will come to their own realizations. The therapist may manifest those realizations in words for the individual, but they came to their conclusion on their own nonetheless. Now imagine that you're a disgruntled 14-year-old boy, one who has little to no outlet to vent. I wasn't a sports person. I had friends, but they were going through their own hormonal bullshit. So who did I have to turn to? Parents? Who were causing a lot of the issue and would mock, demean, or outright beat you for bringing things up. My grandmother was becoming more distant, and my brothers felt the same way as us, so that was like venting into an echoing void. So you turn towards a little digital world where the only things that can harm you were things that could be dealt with. The reality is that I'm sure I'm not the only one that had to live like that. We don't live in a world where things are always okay, but no one deserves to have that pain redirected at them. I didn't bully or pick on others. I didn't act down or try to even myself with others to gain self-worth. I played a fucking game. So many, yet they have all stuck with me. Each one a book on a shelf of memories that were built there to show that sometimes entertainment media goes beyond just being fun. In my childhood, I never owned a PlayStation 3, but I loved the series of God of War. God of War 3 and Metal Gear Solid 4 had just come out, and I remember reading the review for it in Game Informer and wanting to play it oh so badly. My grades were beginning to slip in school because I was finding other outlets to vent my frustrations at that time that weren't the healthiest. My uncle noticed this, and his solution was to buy a PlayStation 3 and God of War and hold it hostage till I got my grades up. Being the person I was, I fixed it immediately. I asked repeatedly for extra credit or things I could retest for and rose my grades as quickly as I could. Within a few months, when the next progress report came down and my grades were raised, he looked at me and told me that if I can keep them up, I can play the PlayStation at his house whenever I want. I started hanging out over there quite a bit, my aunt and uncle taking care of me and my brothers while my mother wandered about doing whatever she did while we were away. This man stepped up into a father position for my brothers and me. He didn't have to. Video games weren't his thing. He took something that I related to and proposed an offer. I saw no reason to turn it down. This is why when the newest God of War came out in 2018, it legitimately brought me to tears. When 2018's God of War came out and they had removed the gameplay that I had become so fond of, I thought it would be trash. I buckled in for the ride though and bought the collector's edition. With the statue, as I have to rep the series that has become a mainstay in my life. When the story of God of War was one of growth between a father and a son, man, that shit hit. My uncle was always a person in my life, but it wasn't until those hard years in my teens that he really came around to play a role. I was always scared of him. He was rough, gruff, and had tattoos. That and the thick beard he grew paralleled the design of Kratos immediately in my brain. My aunt, being a twin of my mother, was a sweet contrast, as if I had ended up with my own evil twin. She cared for my brothers as if they were like her own. Their daughter was a sister to us boys. I understand now that I was afraid of my uncle because I had yet to really understand authority. That, or someone that cared but did so sternly. His life experience shaped him into who he is, and that experience can make one look like a scary monster when viewed from the eyes of those young and innocent. This is why Atreus is so wary of Kratos. I immediately felt empathy, and as their bond grew and I watched this angry boy become a more decent and wizened character by the end, through a man that had seen the world and its horrors, had committed those atrocities. It all clicked. I live in Japan, so when I beat the game around 3-ish a.m. in the morning, I felt like I needed to call him. He picked up and I just said thank you. He laughed and asked me how I'm doing and why the hell am I thanking him when I should be asleep. I told him, man, I don't know, just glad you're in my life. I know it's not elegant. I'm sure you're all wishing for some poetic dialogue, but I'm no Hideo Kojima. We continued our conversation afterwards, and while I sat in my living room in the dark, taking in every word he said, I understand now that life wasn't easy. His life. Mine wasn't either, but he taught me the importance of taking that and being bigger than it. God of War just let me realize that. There will be a day when my grandmother and my uncle die. I've always have their memories built into these games though, shelved to be pulled on. Whenever I play Ocarina of Time, my Gammy is in the back of my head leading me through the game. As I boot up God of War, I'm so glad that I had a person step into my life when I was going down a bad path and say, hey, how about we do this instead? A person that knew what a bad life actually entailed and helped me lead away from it, and with a video game nonetheless. My own father began to play a role later on, and probably built into me the cold resentment I have for those not willing to admit their mistakes. He gave me access to a better life, something that I do appreciate despite him being missing for the other good portion of it. While I was offered better amenities, what was taken from me was the wholeness of family. I moved in with people that didn't know me, didn't understand me, and didn't really want to. Fortunately, a little game came out at that time that gave me an escape to a world where I could be understood. Skyrim. The hours I sunk into that game on 360 were an outlet. When I was left at home because I didn't belong at a family function, when I didn't fit the bill of what it was to be a part of his family, I became the Dragonborn, a hero, a person that people wanted to be around. Since he was an officer in the military, our appearances and lives became a very fabric of his own political career, often to the point that I couldn't dress or act in any way that was not suitable for that in his rank. Picket fences, polo shirts, khakis, and one cannot outwardly express oneself to the world in whatever ways they see fit. That which I was able to do in video games. I was able to build weird, outlandish characters, roleplay, and define parts of me that I knew to be true through the medium. Meeting others online and talking, learning, and absorbing information for those that have lived more than I. It was all growth. Growth that I couldn't have experienced if it wasn't for video games. And it's not like I didn't move around a lot. I took in so much culture and saw so much when traveling, but the constant isolation was always there. Friends would change as we would pack our bags and move, but I could keep them on a friends list through Discord, PlayStation, or Xbox, and that, to me, is what allowed me to stay sane around my home life, which was oh so draining. Today, video games are still an important part of my life. Hours for work vary, but I always have time. My wife and I came to an understanding before we got married that this was very much a part of my person, and thankfully, she has been somewhat fine with it. I've roped her into a few games, even watched her complete Mario Odyssey and cry over Detroit Become Human. She was addicted to Animal Crossing for a hot minute, but she's never been the gaming type. I'm lucky in that regard, I think. Because when I describe the overarching stories and concepts of my favorite games to her, watching her take an interest in something that she has never seen or will play fills me with the same joy that I believe my grandmother felt when we walked in on that Saturday morning to see an N64. Two boys grinning with excitement over the possibilities of what is and what could be. A joy from sharing with your loved ones, and a joy that has filled me with a passion. This has been a Tree Talk. Leave me a like. Plant some roots on the channel with a subscribe. Until next time, let's make like a tree and leave.